I don't know how it works well if it works on phone because I tried that and
Yeah.
it was not. It my test worked, but my earbuds, I
Uh-huh.
had no
Yeah.
audio in my test. But then he couldn't get on to restream for some reason.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if it was his end or my end. So I'm like, I can't. I'm just gonna stop
Yeah.
and do it
Yeah.
from the
It all
laptop.
works out. It'll all work out. I'll figure it out
Yeah.
afterwards how to share it or whatnot.
Oh
So
yeah. And it's gonna be shared anyway. You can share it from my profile. So anyway,
awesome.
now we're on live.
Okay.
We've already had like a 20-minute conversation, you guys. So this is Vanessa. We have been friends for a little while, but we've just connected deeper in the last few weeks. And
Yeah.
she's like, "Oh, I should come on there," and I'm like, "You better."
Yeah. I
And
don't know.
she does have her own podcast, and just
Yeah.
go drop links in the comments because it'll be at least a day before I can go change all the descriptions and
Oh,
get
okay.
everything in there. So if you want to go
Awesome.
drop them in comments, you can do that. But
Okay.
all right, I will just turn it over to you, and you can either start back where we were, or you can start whatever else feels good.
Yeah. No, well, first, thanks for having me. I'm a little, I did tell you I was a little nervous because, we do have I do have my own podcast with a counterpart, my friend and old coworker, Brian. And, it's funny because we do the same thing before we start recording. We always start talking and we
And
just
then you
like, oh,
forget.
we should have recorded this. Like, so like with our podcast, it's the same thing. It's just natural. We are not scripted. It's unfiltered, raw, whatever topic. We talk about anything and everything. It can be very controversial, which I think every day is controversial with what we're
Right.
seeing. But you
And you're
know,
super inquisitive. You just want to know how people tick.
yeah, yeah, I'm like, why do you behave this way? Like, tell me, make me understand how can I be like this? Like, or like, how can I get this thinking? But yeah, we talk about anything and everything. And I was telling Angelique that I had this idea of having a podcast because of like life experiences. I've since like it could be anywhere from like teen years, high school to college to like now where I'm at in life and like all the jobs I've had. Just interaction with people has always fascinated me and like behaviors. So obviously I went into schooling with that, into psychology. Um, but it still amazes me how I experience certain things or have like certain experiences with people and it just makes me laugh. And I know we've talked about it because there are there are times where I felt that I had like the word therapist written on my forehead, and because people would tell me their life stories and like I never turned it away. I was always like intrigued by
Right.
it. But sometimes it was like really like I'm not licensed to take on
Right.
this story. So but I listened and comforted and did what I could or thought was best at that moment.
Right.
Um and so I wanted to do a podcast because I wanted to see how relatable are my stories and my experiences compared to everyone else in the world. And we started a podcast. We talked about like our work experience, our everyday life, and then we were doing really well. And then my counterpart and I, we got hit with. I always say, life throws lemons. We got hit with so much. I was surprised I wasn't drinking tequila shots by the end of
With
everything
your
that.
lemons.
Yeah, with my lemons, making shots and cutting people with razor blades and squeezing those lemons in the wound. But no, um, but I no, you know, I was telling Angelique that we had stopped for a year because we both had a lot that happened. You know, I don't think he minds me sharing, but like Brian had lost one of his family members. I had things going on like with everything that could disrupt my work life, my personal life, my health. He had some health issues too. And it just like put us both, we were experiencing the same thing, anxiety, depression. grieving. And for me, it was like back to back, year after year after year. So it was like nonstop. And I was broken. I literally, one of the things that happened that that just broke me was my car caught fire. My car caught fire out of nowhere, and I woke up
Oh my
because my now wife, she wasn't next to me, and I was like, "What happened? Where is she?" And the idea of something's wrong with my car was the first thing that came to my mind. And when I went and I said, "What are you doing?" She's like, "There's a fire in the in our community. There's those big trash cans, like they're like ginormous black trash cans." And she was like, "It caught fire." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "Yeah, it caught fire. It's like completely gone." And I said, "Oh my god!" I was like, "I parked my car right next to it. The one time I parked it next to it." And it was myself and the neighbor. Our car, the backside of my car on the side was completely melted, and it was Christmas Eve at 4 a.m. in the morning. And I literally looked at her and I said, "I just can't win. I don't know what else." Like in those moments you're like, "What more can I do?"
cannot
What more,
handle,
like
right?
what else? Yeah, and it's it I always talk about, and I don't want to say I always talk about it, but like it's been brought up a lot more recently. Just going through that because I think that definitely, I know that was a breaking point for me because I have never been so emotional in front of like my significant other, to that point, like that emotional. And so uh that continued, like, I know like you had a group
Yes.
event recently, and there was a lot of talk about like, everyone going through things, and it reminded me of everything that has happened like the last 4 years. And it went everything from like my car catching fire, me having health issues of just like extreme pain, trying to figure out things. And it just like really is amazing how in our society we don't, uh, I don't know if we're saying not everyone is trained like this or like programmed, but like where I come from my background and my family life and just where I originally grew up, it's like you just keep moving forward. You don't, like, "Oh, okay, my car caught fire. Well, what do I do next?" Keep moving forward, move forward, move forward. And you don't take time to process things.
And that's
So
great.
yeah, yeah. So a lot of time I came on here and I was like, "Well, I don't really know what I'm going to talk about because I've I I haven't lost. I mean, I've lost family members, but not they were never like really really close, to where I can say that, I was mourning them very much. I know that sounds horrible, but the
But they're
last
all
thing,
different. It's all
yeah,
different.
yeah. Like I lost my grandpa, but I saw him a few times when I was very little, you know,
Right.
compared to when I was in my teens. I saw him maybe one more time, but we were never really close. And we were separated by we were there in a different country.
Right.
But, and listening to some of the people you've had on here and just like the thoughts that would come to my head is grief is not something that just means someone passed away
Right.
and you're grieving. And your recent event, Facebook event that you had with other people in the group, it made me realize that, you said like losing the person that you used to be is
Right.
a way of grieving, and it like rang a bell for me because everything that I've gone through in the last 4 years, I've grown so much and I don't want to say changed who I am, but it did because
Expanded.
I don't, huh?
You've expanded.
Yeah, like I look at things differently. I react differently to things. I mean, if you would have met me maybe like 4 years or more ago, I'd say like 10 years ago, I wouldn't be the way that I am now. Like I was very people pleasing. I was like always. joking around. I still do that. I still joke around and have sense of humor, but like I'm not. I was like open to anyone and everyone, and now I'm more protective of my peace, my energy. Um, situations. I was laughing because I was watching the live that you had before at two
Oh yeah.
o'clock. Yeah, and I was like, dang, I was like, man, I really had some guardian angels when I was in my 20s because I was in a lot of situations that I could have gotten. It could have been bad,
Yeah,
and
she went through so much.
yeah, she's a strong woman. Let me tell you.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
I mean, it. I just thought of like, cause I was like, well, I don't really have like I said, I was like a little nervous because I was like, I don't really know what to share, but like, you know, when I was in my 20s, I drank a lot. I wasn't an alcoholic, but well, I guess on
She
weekends
said, I wasn't an addict either.
well,
I
I
was
wasn't like
a
drinking
substance
every day.
abuser.
But yeah, I'm a social drinker. I guess that's what you could
Right.
say. I When my friends and neighbors and I would get together, we would go drink. When I was uncomfortable in situations, I would get belligerent drunk because I had no way of feeling comfortable but doing that, you know?
Self medication because it
Yeah.
numbs you and you don't have to process and feel anything.
Yeah, and I don't have to feel embarrassed. I being who I am, I didn't feel embarrassed if I was drunk. And oh, also too like it's almost like they put it it's almost like you learn that hey, if you drink you can have a good time. If you always drink, you have a good time. And so I went with that, and I liked the fact that I was carefree. So I would get really drunk so I wouldn't have to worry about anything. And there were times where I remember I had a flashback and I was like in someone's random house. It was a house party, but then there's stuff on the table. There's drugs on the table. Like I've never seen that before. So I was like,
Where
what is
am
going
I?
on here? It's like I had never seen cocaine before in my life, and it was like to me, I was like, are we baking something? Because there was like a pile of flour. That's what it looked like to me, and they were just drawing. And then when I saw them snort, I was like, oh, this is not what I think it is.
It's time to go.
Yeah, and I was like, that could have been a situation that could have been bad,
Oh
and
yeah.
so I was counting my blessings and saying thank you to my guardian angels today when that flashback came to or that memory came to mind. But it's with my family history on both sides of the family is we have alcoholics. So, I guess based culturally or just like family life, my dad was an alcoholic. And I think it hurt him where he's at today. He has dementia, Alzheimer's, and he is unfortunately at his last stage. And it's horrible to see, some my dad who taught me everything I know, being like a handy woman and like do all the things that I know how to do. And to see him not even be able to communicate, not even
Right.
be able to be himself.
It's
And
that's
so
hard.
yeah, and I thought I was like, well, this is also, I'm grieving my dad too because I'm preparing,
Right. You're
and
grieving the man you knew, and
yeah,
it's grieving through that you're going to lose him soon. He's
yeah,
in those last stages, so you're already in that grief.
yeah, yeah. It's funny. I mean, it's not funny, but like, it's crazy how I thought I was, you know, like I said, in the past 4 years, I've had a lot of things happen as far as physical things like my health, materialistic things like car catching fire, work life, having toxic people in the work life that disrupts your ability to filter it out of your personal life, and
Right.
so just dealing with all that, and then all of a sudden, um, my our dog passed away a year ago in December, and that when I thought my car catching fire broke me, I was wrong. It was my dog.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
like walking in and seeing him in our home passed away, that I don't even wish that upon my worst enemy. That
Right.
was horrendous. And I still grieve him. I think I know. I think when we spoke last week, I told you, and I'm pretty vocal about it. I told everyone I'm depressed. Like I'm working through it, and I have waves that hit me. I'll be fine
Oh
one
yeah.
day, another day I can't even. I told my wife, I was like, I just want you to know how hard it was for me to just get out of the door, just get in the shower. Like in my mind, I'm doing it, but when I look down, my body's just at a standstill. You know, and I had never felt like that before. Always fatigued and tired, and but not like that in this past 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks ago that happened to me, and so I told her, I said, I think I think it's funny how all this aligns, and I said that in your Facebook group. Like it's funny how it all aligns because I wouldn't normally do something like this,
Right.
because I'm just like, well, but like the fact that you came up with the Facebook group, and I was like, it's happening for a reason, so I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be in
Right.
there. The podcast, just do it, and
Customer 36.
and share
Door shower is
whatever I
ready.
can share.
Please
But
Right.
proceed
it's
And
to
the more
shower
that we
3.
shine light on it,
yeah,
then the easier it is to start processing. And then you
yeah,
can also see where some of it's just your thoughts
yeah. That's
are
true.
not congruent with reality. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned on the earlier podcast, we've been listening. I've had the book Loving What Is by Byron Katie for
Mm-hmm.
a couple of years. And I have never listened to the whole thing because I usually do that when I'm traveling.
Hmm.
But I've started it over like 5 or 6 times because I wanted other people to hear it. So I've never listened to the whole thing. And we were listening to it yesterday while we were driving. And it is so powerful. And it
Yeah.
talks about it's our thoughts are what cause our suffering.
The
It's
what?
our thoughts are what
Customer
cause our suffering.
36.
Because
Door
Yeah.
our
shower
thoughts
is
can
ready.
be
Please
completely
proceed to shower
irrational.
3.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we don't see that, okay, this thought doesn't actually match the reality.
Mm-hmm.
And if we take that time to investigate it, then we can see, like, oh, well, yeah, that
Yeah.
makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. It's just me. It's just me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. There was within that time before my dog had passed away, I had gone to therapy. I still am in therapy, but it's not as frequent as it was before. Um, there was so much talking to myself in my head, where like it's so loud sometimes. I'd literally be sleeping. I'd be laying down to sleep, and my mind would just go and like all this like random stuff, or like, and it is true. It's just your own thoughts, and sometimes that's the battle, is battling your own thoughts,
Customer
and,
37. Door
like
shower is
just
ready.
reassuring,
Please proceed
uh
to shower
or
7.
just, I think that's the reason why it's hitting me now, is because like I was saying before, in our society, well, I guess it's different everywhere, but like you just see that, like it's always like you're never taking the time to process it. You're just like, okay, let's go back to work. Let's go to the next thing. Self-care, go do something fun. I'm not saying that's not a good thing, but that, for me, when I was told that, it meant I was just pushing things aside and
Right,
just like, okay, I'll deal with that later. I'll deal with that later. And where I'm at now, I've been saying it a few times. I'm healing. I'm not healed,
right,
because this is all new to me. When I lost my dog, that, like I said, that was the worst thing ever in my life. And
Customer
I still
37.
grieve him. I
Door
still am
shower is
going through
ready.
the process. I'm still
Please
going through the
proceed to
process of
shower
all the
7.
other things that I thought I was over,
right.
you know?
Well,
Um,
grief is not. It doesn't end.
and
Grief is
that's the
just
thing.
it's
Yeah.
love. It's just love
Yeah.
that you don't know where to put it anymore.
Yeah. And it's
And so
like,
you have to process that about, okay, I still love this thing or this person or this memory or whatever it is, whatever perceived loss. I still love that, but how do I how do I still love it now in a
Yeah.
different way?
And
And our
you
minds
see,
can't quite do that yet.
and they don't teach that. They don't teach.
No,
They just say in time it'll get better. You know, like there's always that
correct.
saying it gets better, and
Grief
I
doesn't
hated saying
stop.
that. Yeah, but that's stuff that I've learned, thankfully, because of your events on Facebook or just us talking. That's stuff that I've learned now, and now that I'm going through the waves, I'm learning that now. Versus, I should have learned that my first, I don't say my first day of therapy, but they don't reassure you like that. When you go on social
Right.
media and you're like, "Oh, I'm having a mental health crisis," there really is no education. They just tell you what it is, what you have, but there
Nobody wants
really
to talk
isn't.
about grief.
No one wants to talk about anything. Like mental health is still
Right.
taboo. Um, I think definitely in our podcast we talk about the medical industry, big pharma, like, and we are very vocal, especially me, because the last 2 years just being in and out of the hospital, seeing specialists, seeing
Right.
doctors, and like they really make you think, like, doubt yourself. And I'm like, but I know my body.
Right.
I'm my body. You're not. Like, I know what I feel. You don't. So,
Right.
um, but it really is sad how they don't teach these things. And I think that's the one thing that I would say is part of my grief is I'm 39 years old and I don't know how to deal. Like,
Right.
I
Right.
I feel I remember I would be and it just happened today, this realization, like, or more like forgiveness. I remember a couple months back, like when my dog passed away, it was a catalyst to changing my life completely, because I from that day, although in the moment I didn't realize the gift of his passing was he because of that, I now have boundaries. I'm not a people pleaser. I do things that I know are more important to me, and I listen to my gut. And and I know we've talked about this like privately, but like any type of thought that comes to my mind, I move forward with it because it's a premonition, or it's like something that's important.
Right.
Why am I thinking of this right now? So him passing made me realize and put those principles and elements in place in my life. And you know the I didn't want another dog after he passed. I was like, I'm not, like, it's too much, like I still am healing. But they send the
Oh yeah.
next the next soul in your life, and so we have Obi. And he Katie and I were talking about him. She said, like, I love that dog so much. She's like, it's not that I didn't love my other dogs, or like Junior was our dog that passed. She's like, but there's just like so much love, like, and I said, yeah, like, and he returns it back. He loves us just as much
Right.
as we love him. And
And I fully believe that you're right, that they send those next souls so that we do have somewhere to
yeah,
put that love.
yeah, and I was fighting it, Angelique. I was fighting it tooth and nail. Even when we decided, I was the one. So we were offered Obi 2 times, and then finally, no, I'm sorry. We were offered the second time we adopted him, but we were offered 3 different dogs, and I was like, no, I can't do
Oh
this.
wow.
I can't do this. Pass. I can't do. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And people are like, you should get another dog. It'll help your grieving process. And I was like, no, absolutely not. I'm not ready. No, that's not fair to the other dog. That was my thinking. And
Right.
this dog, I was so
Customer
angry with his
38.
situation. And
Your shower
I
is
remember
ready.
looking at my wife
Please
when she
proceed
got
to
home. I said,
shower 2.
you tell your friend I literally was angry telling her this. You tell your friend we're gonna fucking take the dog because he would be in a better home and loved better by us than any of those people that tried to adopt him and gave him a hard time. I was like, I don't want a dog, but at least in my heart, I know he will be loved by us and he will be taken care
Right.
of. He will be spoiled. And then
And it was just
it
meant to
was
be.
because I was still depressed and I was all like, not, I was happy to see him, but you could tell I was kind of like hesitant. I was kind of like, yeah, I still miss Junior. And then out of nowhere, I was just watching him play and we were in the living room and I said out loud, I said, he's just such a joy. And Katie looks at me and she's like,
Customer 38.
you know,
Your
she's like,
shower
I'm
is
so happy
ready.
you said that. Like she was
Please
just
proceed
shocked
to
that I was
shower
like
2.
excited and like happy. And I was like, yeah, and I talked to I talked to Junior. I talked to all my dogs, but I was like, you just had to send him, didn't you? I was like, and I tell Obi, I was like, your brother, he sent you, and you act just like him sometimes. So, but yeah,
I'm, I'm dealing with the redheaded stepchild puppy. The inherited puppy. She has been so good traveling
yeah.
though.
Oh, that's good.
I am so relieved and so proud of her
Yeah.
because we just got her fixed
Oh,
Friday morning. I just got her fixed on
oh,
Friday,
okay.
and they said she should be okay. She does need to be calm for a couple weeks, but
Yeah.
she said they said she should be fine. And she's young. She's just barely over a year, but she reacted really badly to anesthesia. Not
Oh,
really badly, but she had really loose
oh.
bowels after she came out,
Mm.
and it was it might have been the pain
Ah,
meds because she
yeah.
had pain meds for 3 days,
Yeah.
Customer
and it was just
39.
she couldn't
Your
control
shower
herself.
is
So it
ready.
was we were cleaning
Please
up the
proceed
kennel
to
like
shower
Oh,
1.
yeah.
several times a day, and then she felt bad,
Yeah.
and she the cone scares her to death. So we've been keeping her in the kennel so she doesn't have to have the cone
Oh,
on.
yeah,
So it's like so now she's in the car and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm out of the kennel."
yeah. Yeah.
But she has been so good and hasn't had an accident at all.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
We I bought yeah, I bought puppy pads just in
Yeah.
case, but she's been so good.
Well, good.
But yeah, I've had a hard time
Yeah.
because James told me that I had to that me and my old dog are the only ones that can train her and raise
Huh?
her. I said, James, I don't ever want another dog. When Roxy goes, I'm
Yeah.
done. Because Roxy is 15 this month,
Yeah.
or in May, she'll be 15.
Customer
And I said,
39. Your
I
shower
don't have
is ready.
patience or
Please
time or space
proceed
for
to
a
shower
puppy.
1.
This is your puppy. He says,
Yeah.
but if something happens to me, you have to keep her.
Yeah. Isn't it?
So how can I get rid of her? How can I get rid of her?
Yeah.
I'm trying to give her to my granddaughter, and she would take her in a heartbeat, but they just got their own place. He's just finishing high school this next month or so. And she's working, but she starts a new job. She graduates in June, but she's been done with
Yeah.
school. Um, but she said they have extra rent for a second dog because he has a dog.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And she said, so we'd have to pay another $50 in rent and, and just all the other things that come with it. And they're super young, they're both just 18.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I said, I understand, and I'm not going to push it on you, but you are the only one that I think James would be okay with.
Yeah.
Because I know she would be spoiled and she would be taken care
Yeah.
of. And everybody else has their own animals, like zoos of animals, not just one.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna have her.
Yeah. Okay.
And sometimes she's a gift, and sometimes she drives me crazy, and I tell her that the only reason she's here is because I love my kid.
Yeah.
But she acts just like him.
Yeah.
They have the same personality.
Yeah.
She she's freaking adorable, and she annoys the shit out of me. And then she looks at me with those beautiful eyes, and
Hmm.
like, but I love you, and that's what he used to do. But I love you, Mama.
Yeah. Yeah. That's hilarious. It's funny.
It's
You just talking about that makes me realize that Obi is very much like me then, because he is so vocal sometimes. And like I think with everything that I've been through, that's the one thing that uh the passing of Junior too is like I'm more vocal now, right? I'm more vocal
yes.
with the setting the boundaries and just like speaking up. But also like when he doesn't like something, he does this thing. He's like moody. I call him, "You're so moody. You're so." He's like, "Whoa," and now you talking about that, I'm like, I guess I'm like that too. When I'm hangry and
Oh, that's
tired, I'm
funny.
like, like I don't. So
That's
okay, yeah, I
hilarious.
have a mini me over here, but
That's so
yeah,
funny.
I just it's amazing how Junior, the passing of Junior, changed everything for me and for my wife. Like you know, I thought that was it though. I really thought that was it. Okay, I'm gonna have a break. I'm gonna have time to grieve. I'm gonna have time to recoup.
Right.
No, it just because of his passing, my relationship with my family had stopped for a year. I went no contact. I was planning a wedding. Katie and I were getting married, and so we were planning everything. Things, I thought about that today, just watching the last podcast you did, and like I cried so much at my wedding, and just thinking about my wedding, I always tear up. Like for Christmas, when Myrna gave me, I
Right.
like bawled, right? Because
Aw.
the thing is, growing up, when I was 13, I would daydream a lot because of the situation I was in with my family. Like I tell my counterpart on the podcast, I feel like I was very sheltered. I grew up in like,
Oh, yeah.
in a town that, you didn't see gay people, you didn't see minorities, like, so it's just, when I was 13, I would daydream about pretty much everything that I've done in my career. Like when I was a banker, I'd be going out to happy hours, being in like buildings that were at the rooftops and stuff. And then I never thought it was a daydream to ever be married. And so when I got married, that was like, oh my God, like I
The
got
ultimate
married.
manifestation.
Yeah, like wow, like this was always like I don't wanna, this was like something that never could happen in
Right.
real life to me. In my
Oh,
mind,
yeah.
I could dream about everything, right? So when I got married, that was like so important and such a like, wow, I did this, you know, because it never was like something that I could really see myself doing.
Right.
And
Yeah, but look at
yeah,
Katie. How could you not?
I know,
You
and I,
guys
you
are
know,
so perfect together.
and you know what, Katie, when I met Katie, I'll tell you that when I met Katie, I was in a really bad relationship. I had just ended that relationship. It was so bad. I had a order of protection against my ex. My ex was crazy, and so a lot of what I have mentioned in the past in therapy, that relationship wiped my memory. Like it was like so traumatic because I don't remember much, and I'll get
Right.
flashbacks of like social events and stuff like that. But when I ended that and I got my order of protection, the way I dealt with it, my roommate would take me out, we'd go out, we'd drink, we'd have a good time, and then that was my way of dealing with it. But essentially I never really dealt with it because it's
Right.
still something I'm dealing with or like grieving. And when I met Katie, I was just supposed to take her out and show her the town, like where to go for clubs or like, where the fun parts were. But when I met her, before I met her, I had said to myself, I'm going to be single for a really long time. And I'm going to focus on me. I'm going to go have fun. I'm not going to get in a relationship or anything. Man, was I mistaken. Katie saw me and she was like, it's done. I'm not leaving your site. You're not leaving my site. And I was mad. I was mad because I was like, what? I literally remember because it was like the first time we went out. I kind of like, I was like completely drunk. And I like remember a couple things here and there. I got into a fight with her sister. And like it was horrible. Like I was just like upset because of that. And then the second night, I was like, I think this girl likes me. But I'm like, my roommate was like, whatever, you're just cocky. Da, da, da. And I was like, no, no, no. I think this is real. Like, guys, I know I joke a lot, but like, this is real. Like, I really think she likes me. And they're like, okay, yeah, whatever. And I remember being so mad because I said I was going to be single and I was just going to have fun. But we had gone to a bar that I was showing her, like, oh, if you move out here, this is another bar you can go to and like meet people or whatever. And it was the first time ever, Angelique, that I got hit on full force. Where like I saw someone from across the room, they saw me and they were like, let me buy you a drink. And they were like, and never. That was usually me going up to people and doing that, right? And I literally was like, I remember like looking outside and like I don't know who I was talking to, myself, God, the universe, whatever. And I was like, are you seriously doing this to me right now? Like I'm getting hit on, but I can see this girl likes me too. And I just met her. I met her, and I was like, "What in the world?" And it was just Katie and I were meant to be like that. We are
Oh,
so
absolutely.
on the same wavelength. We finish each other's sentences. We like the same stuff. We are day and night. We're like yin and yang. She's more reserved, homebody. I'm the loud one and want to go out all the time and stuff like that. And she's more like, "Do you really need that? Should we really? Let's talk about this." And I'm all like, "Let's just do it." But
She's your conscience.
yeah, yeah. but but it's yeah. So to be married after going through all those phases of
Right.
like, I'm never getting married, or like I'm not never gonna have I'm not gonna have a girlfriend or anything like that, and being where we are now. That's why like at our wedding, like it was very emotional because first of all, the amount of love, it was like such my um the officiant that married us was my HR lady and I know her through Myrna too. Like we all know each
Oh,
other
how
through Myrna.
fun.
Yeah, Kiana. Kiana married
Oh,
us.
yeah.
Yeah. So I worked with Kiana and we asked her to marry us and Kiana said she was like your wedding. She's like it was like amazing and like she said but it's like it was like cake. There was so much love. She said that you literally could cut through it. Like you could cut up. It's like cutting a piece of cake. Like that. That's how potent it was in there. Or like the vibe. And I was like, well, yeah. I was like, it felt like it was a fairy tale to us,
Right.
And when I had to give, because Katie didn't want to say the speech, or like talk with me, so I had to talk, and I remember saying like we had Katie and I in May we have been together for 17 years.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and I remember saying at our wedding like she's my rock and she's my ride or die, my everything because she has seen everything that I have gone through.
Right.
And we as a couple have gone through so much, whether it be family, friends, out in the world like so when I said that I was like choked up because what it took to get where we were
Right.
was a long journey.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm not saying we never wanted to be married, but like life just take like that whole it all circles back to like how we don't process things. Because life just took us. We went for our careers, we were living life, we did what we needed to do. We had our own little family with our dogs. And then, we finally there's a time and a place for everything. And
Right.
that was our moment. 16 years later, but that was our moment. and,
But
and
and you guys have stuck through it, through all of
yeah,
it.
yeah. What a testament to be together for
Yes,
that long and go through all those
absolutely.
things.
Right.
So there's no, you know, I, I'm sure if I were to look back at some of the relationships I had, uh, they would walk away. They'd be like, "Fuck this," like So, and I'm not saying like, the struggles we had were like, you know, how can I say it, like just life throwing different
Just
struggles,
right.
like
Right.
obstacles. Yeah. Not
Yes.
like, oh, I was an alcoholic and doing drugs. I mean, I,
Right.
I sometimes, everyone has a different path, different obstacles. But
Yeah.
sometimes I look at what I go through and I'm like, that's nothing. Like, look at the young lady that you spoke to. Like,
Right.
her story is, if we were to rate it, mine would be down here and her would be there. But everyone has a different journey. You can't compare it.
Yes. Exactly.
And so sometimes
And
I'm like, well, my struggles aren't
we,
real, you know.
but
But
they are real.
but but to me, yeah, to us as a couple, it was difficult. I mean,
Right.
we both got depressed. We
Well,
both had anxiety. You know.
especially in a cancel culture, throwaway world,
Yeah.
where when things
Yeah.
get hard, you just walk away. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and
And
that's
that's so
not
true.
uncommon. But
And
and all of our experiences are intended. I mean, we chose our people, we chose our contracts and our
yeah.
experiences and our lessons, and that's why it's all worked to in succession to get you where you are.
Yeah, when Junior passed away, I remember I was just so angry and lost. I was angry and lost because I was like, my dog would never die like this. My dog would never. He's smart. He wouldn't die like this. And I was like, he was doing so well. He was doing so well health wise. He was doing better. And then this, I was like this, and it didn't help that it was on Katie's birthday too.
Oh,
And so I remember turning to a spiritual group that I'm a part of, uh, and I said, I need answers. I don't understand how you guys have been posting on here like, oh, positive things are coming, like affirmations, all this good is gonna happen. And I was like, my dog died. I was like, and in the worst way possible. And I was like, why? Tell me why. Like, I always want answers, right?
right.
And that's when I was first introduced to soul contracts, and I was like, what the hell is that? Right? And I was like, stop sugarcoating me, or like, what are you talking about? Like, what
Gaslighting
are you
me.
saying? Yeah, I was like, stop with the BS, right? And then I understood now, looking at it, I'm like, man, did you really have to pass away for me to grow and do all these things that I need to implement in my life? Like, and
Did you see my very first episode with my friend Sally? That was what the whole episode was about, was losing her dog.
is she from a different country? Was it
Yes, yes,
okay.
she's Australian.
Yeah, okay. Yes, I did. I did rewatch. I watched it. Yes.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really good because she goes deeply. She went deeply into the processing of the grief, and then ended up. She didn't want another dog either because he had been, soul mate and healer for her and her son. And she's like, no, I don't want another dog. But within just a couple of weeks, this
Mhm.
other dog came around that needed rescued. He was a rescue too.
Yeah.
And, and so now they
Yeah.
have him, and he just attached to her boy instantly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just meant to be. But I have a friend that is an animal medium. So
Oh.
she channels and even higher self, because they still have souls. And
Yeah.
so she can do like ones that have already crossed over, and she can do higher self channeling with alive ones. So
Yeah. I'd be interested in that because
I thought so.
I I'm not very vocal with how he passed. Only a few people ask and ask, and I was like, look, I just didn't want to
It
break down because,
hurts.
yeah,
It
because to
hurts.
me, look, growing up, I'm I'm Latina, I'm Hispanic, right? In our household, I'm not saying this is a bad way. My parents raised me to the best of their ability with how they were raised, their environment, and what we were going through at the time when I was a child. That is the peace that I've come to because I was very angry before and I was like, I can't believe my parents would do this to me. Like, I'm 39 years old. I don't even know how to process my emotions, right?
Right.
So I would be upset about that. But, like, and rightfully so, they did the best they could. And they're still trying to find themselves, like my mom still has stuff she has to work through,
It's a
you know?
lifelong journey.
Yeah. And she doesn't know it. I know it for her, but she doesn't. She will never
Yeah.
see eye to eye with me until she is ready for it, ready to process
Right.
everything and, like, heal or start her journey. But I remember saying, um, I constantly have said this, and it's something that I'm trying to unlearn. Crying for me is a weakness. So anytime someone would ask me about my dog, I'd be like, because I would get emotional. Like, showing emotions was a
Or crying.
weakness.
Right.
That's how I interpreted. However, I was showing that kind of emotion was a weakness, and I always associate crying with me being angry because I hated when I would get angry and I would cry, but it wasn't because I was sad. It was because I was so angry.
Me too.
And to this day, I remember just like 2 3 months ago, I was having issues at work, and I literally put my manager in because I was like fuming. I was like red, and I pulled her in and I started talking and I said, I could hear my voice cracking and I said, I'm about to start crying. I was like, and it's not because I'm sad, it's because I'm so fucking angry right now. And then I just started crying and I was like, because I hate it. I associate crying with weakness. But my therapist constantly tells me, she's like, you gotta let it out. It's just letting it out, processing. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, I'm just like, so, like, this past since my dog passed, I cry. Sometimes I can be just totally fine and then I get emotional, but I have to let it out, and
Right.
it's not just him, it's years of things that I've
Oh
gone
yeah.
through
Yeah.
that's still just channeling,
Because it
channeling.
opens that portal up when you finally
Yeah,
realize that it opens that up and you can start processing other things
yeah,
and movement, crying, any kind of movement, dance, walking, you
yeah,
know, punching
yeah,
bags. My kid, I bought
yeah.
one of my boys when he was little. He had anger problems, and I bought him a speed bag.
Oh wow, yeah. That's a good idea. See, my previous therapist, before we were decided to get married, before we got married, um he said, he's like, you just gotta let it out. And I was like, I do. And he's like, how? I was like, I don't know, but I do, like, and I we talked it out, and he would, like, tell me, go to the smash room, like, smash things up,
Yes, rage
and, like,
rooms.
go. He's like, this is one thing he did, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have demons inside of me because he was like, go. He's like, you ever see that clip where people go on top of the mountains and they just scream? And I was like, yeah, but I could never do that. And he's like, I want you to scream today. He's like, when you go, I don't care where you are. He's like, just scream. Go in your car, scream. And she's like, the first time I screamed, and to this day, because sometimes I still, like, will go and scream because I'm just like, I feel like this tense up energy sometimes, like the anxiety, like
Yes,
when I'm at work or whatnot. So I, like, I figure, okay, I'll scream, I'll let it out. It sounds so demonic when I scream. It's horrible, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know how long that's been in my body, but it's been in there for a long time.
it needed to come out.
Yeah, it's horrible. Like, I even did it once in front of Katie because when I didn't have a car, she would drop me off, and I was like, "I want you to ignore what's about to." I said, "I'm gonna scream. I have to scream." And she's like, "Okay." So I closed the door and I just, like, turned my head and I screamed towards the street away from my job, right? Because I'm right in front of my job. And after I got done, I was like, "Ah," and then I looked at her and we both started laughing because she's like, oh my god, and I was like, yeah, it's haunting. It's haunting. Like, it's horrible. And but it helps, like, all those
It
different
does.
things help.
And it clears the energy in your throat chakra so that you
Yeah.
can even communicate more.
Yeah, and so I have definitely released some energy when I did that, and it's just being consistent. I really got into the meditation. Like I don't practice it as often as I should, but in that moment when I was when the therapist was like saying like do like scream, meditate. He was very big on meditation, and I was like I just can't. I can't hold still, but
You don't have to.
I found like a place where I could do sound bowl
Yes.
meditation, guided meditation, sound
And you can
bowl,
do
and that
walking.
was amazing.
I
Yeah,
love
and
cycle.
I did a walk-in meditation because I also years back I was maybe like within the past 10 years I've worked very stressful jobs since the age of 14, and it built up so much stress in me that I was diagnosed like uh, let's say within the last 10 years I was diagnosed with severe depression and anxiety, and I had panic attacks. I started to get panic attacks. I had no idea what it was,
So
what was even
that's
happening.
scary.
Yeah, and so that's why I started the therapy. And like he told me like the meditation, walking meditation. So I did the sound bowl. The sound bowl one was amazing. I was super calm. I felt so exhausted every time I would do a meditation. And so I did a sound bowl meditation. Highly recommend to everyone. They have to experience that at least once in their life. It's
The
addicting.
porch shower
It
is
is
ready.
Yeah.
addicting.
Please
And then the
proceed.
second thing I
Doors.
did was a guided meditation. Now, when I did my guided meditation, I became a I want to say after I did that, it was such an amazing experience. Uh, I don't know how, I don't know why, but I talked to my grandpa and I saw my dog Twix. I saw my friend's dog that I would pet sit for, and I saw my other dog, my parents' dog, and we were on the beach having a conversation and watching the dogs run back and forth. And I remember after I was done with that, I cried because I could not believe I was able to experience that.
Customer 41.
I
Your
always
shower is ready.
recommend that to people
The shower
because
on.
it's amazing. It's amazing what you experience and feel, and it just the message you get. Because my grandpa told me we were literally sitting on the beach having an empanada. He's Chilean, so we were eating a Chilean empanada, and he's like, "You gotta stop." He's like, "Your heart, you're affecting your heart with this worrying, this anxiety." He's like, "You gotta stop." And he's like, "You need to call your grandma more. She's always asking about you." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And like, I remember telling my friend about the experience, and I was just like bawling, and and I told her, I was like, I saw my dog because my other dog too passed away horrendously. He was sick and he was skin and bones, and I that's another one I always cry about. It's just the experience with that, and he didn't deserve that. No animal. I don't think any animal deserves to go through what they go through. They're so loving towards
Right.
us and forgiving.
Yes.
We are their world, and a lot of it like infuriates me when I see people and don't treat their dogs right, or like their cats or other pets,
Oh yeah.
just animals in general. But
Crazy.
yeah, it's just like it's amazing how you process things in those types of settings,
Yes.
like the meditation, the sound
Oh
bowls.
yeah. Well,
Um,
and there's the saying that when the student is ready, the teacher comes.
yeah,
Or the teacher appears, and it's
yeah,
true. I mean, it's happened to me too, and I love. Actually, I just posted. I'm doing this whole rebranding, even though
uh,
ChatGPT and I are having problems right now. But
yeah,
um, so I do channel personal guided meditations, and
yeah,
So I had posted yesterday, I think, as we were driving. I was like, I need, reviews and testimonials for the new branding. And I'm like,
Mm.
I'll do custom channel meditations for 25 bucks. And I don't know what happened to my post because I have not had one single comment.
Oh, really? Well, Facebook hides a lot of stuff.
I
You know, some
know.
people some people will post or comment. Like right now, someone could post or comment something. I won't see it till a week or two later. I'll
It's
get a
crazy,
notification,
isn't it? I know.
and I'm like, okay. So,
Yeah, it's
it's just
crazy.
it.
I just,
I'll take you up on that though.
I
I
post
would
and
love
I'm
to.
like, okay. I just post and I just set the intention that whoever's meant to see it and needs to see it, that it will be at the top of their feeds.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I you know I don't like these sayings, but I have learned to. There was one saying I always hated, and I've learned to go. I get it now. I get why this saying bothered me so much. The saying was, "It is what it is." I hated it. I hated it, and I still somewhat have a little bit of hesitation with it
Yeah,
because I like in in my little bio with the picture, the graphics you made. I seek truth and logic, and that's my
right.
downfall sometimes. Is because I want to understand everything. I want to solve all the issues or solve this, right? It's like a game of Tetris for me. And so it is like doing a puzzle. And I had someone that I worked with, and they would say, "It is what it is," and I'm like, I hate that saying. I don't understand. It's not. You could do better. You can fix things. It's not. It is what it is. There's always a solution, right? And then it wasn't until I went through all this that I was like, she's so fucking great. It is what it is. Like, I
It
hate
really
it,
is.
but it's true. It,
And that's why I love the title of that book, Loving What Is,
yeah,
because it's no fluff, it's just blunt. And I love the way she goes through the process with everybody.
yeah,
It's 4 questions, and then you like you do the what does she call it, inquiry. So you take these statements and then you do the 4 questions and you do the internal inquiry
right.
and then you reframe what the statement was, what your thought
Yeah,
was. And it's just mind blowing.
yeah, yeah,
And, and she's constantly talking about it. It really
yeah.
is. This is reality. She said, I am a truth lover.
Hmm.
And that's what reality is the truth.
Yeah,
In this moment, this is the
yeah,
truth.
yeah.
And I love that.
It's something that it's something that still I have to try and wrap my mind around because I've been so set in my ways for so long that this whole journey of like healing and just relearning things, and that's the benefit of having like me and Brian having this podcast. Like, we are very vocal.
Right.
This is our way of like discussing and not internalizing things, like, or just being able to talk to so many people. Because I know there's people that think that, I mean, obviously, look, we're on a podcast right now talking about things, but it I
Right.
feel like we've lost that. Like, we can't talk about anything and everything. There's still a lot of taboo behind mental health and just like grieving and addictions and all these different things, but it's so easy for people to talk about things that really should be taboo, right? But
Right.
yeah, like,
Or
I
things
think
that don't matter.
right, like, I think it's crazy that you can have friendships where you talk about your sex life like it's nothing, like you're having ordering a meal, and yet you can't talk about, I'm really down today, guys, I need help.
Right.
Like, oh, I don't know what to do. And so that that is our, although we call the podcast a hobby, it's really a way for us to be vocal and spread knowledge, power, because we I don't like to say this, but we do say it, like, we are nobody compared to like all those big wig, um like podcasters or like CEOs that are having
Right.
podcasts, all that, right? But like, we're real, we're relatable, and we live the life of real people. Like of
Right.
average day people that work, have hobbies, have issues, struggle. And so that's why we talk about anything and everything, and we call it our podcast name is V and Brian Against the World because it literally is that. Most of the time, we are fighting everyone else.
But what is that word?
So
Brothers.
it's
Brothers
just
what?
what we do. We talk about it,
Ashes. I
and then we
take
keep pushing.
Right. Well, and your stories matter and your voice matters.
Yeah, yeah.
No
I
matter
mean,
who you are. And we give other people permission
yeah,
to speak their voice and their truth.
yeah, and that's what it is. It's like when I had that whole situation, when mental health or like the things we went through, we were very vocal about that. We talk about our struggles.
Right.
Recently, we've had episodes about the struggles I had in the workplace. Like it was horrendous. It really was horrible, and it attributed to how I feel now, or like how I am depressed again, or whatnot. And we share that because people need to. People have they could take something from it.
Right.
Like even if it's just a saying, like it is what it is. Like that sticks with you. So it's just
Customer
it's
42.
conversation is very
Your
important.
shower is ready.
Sharing experiences is very
Proceed
important.
to shower
Whether
3.
people agree with you or not, you need to be vocal.
Right.
And it's we can all get along. We can all respect opinions and experiences, whether we agree with agree with that person or not. But that's the biggest thing is
We can
uh
learn from each other whether we agree or not.
learn. Yeah, and I always welcome because I know, like I said, our podcast can get very controversial because we do talk about political stuff,
Oh
but in
yeah.
our minds, we are trying to understand the different point of view. We
Right.
always welcome explain it to me so I can understand, right? So we always welcome that. And we always say, we're not pushing this idea to you. This is just another way to think of it. Because based off of our experiences and what I've just talked about, everything that I've been through, you start looking at things differently. You look at things from so many different angles and perspectives
Right.
that there's so many possibilities.
Right. Absolutely.
You can't just
Unlimited.
yeah, you can't
Possibility.
just look at a situation and go, no, that's it. That's it.
Right.
And that's how it's gonna be. There are certain things that have multiple outcomes and possibilities. So
Absolutely. I agree totally. Well, I am going to. We would go forever, so I'm gonna cut it off.
yeah.
Because our last 30-minute talk went 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It was beautiful. But we
Yes,
do
it
have
was
to
a
get back on
pleasure.
the road. Yes, it was great. So thank you
Yes.
so much. And
Thank
like I said,
you.
sometime in the next day or two, I will make sure and get all your information into it and get everything on all the platforms. So
Well,
send
thank
me
you.
all
I
your other
appreciate it.
social tags if you have other platforms, and I can tag you in those.
Customer 43.
Okay.
Your shower is
I
ready.
appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Please proceed to
All
shower
right.
7.
Have a safe trip. Safe travels.
Thank you. Tell Katie hi.